Good morning, Midway. It is great to be with y'all this morning. I'm just really glad to be here. I spend a lot of time speaking in churches, maybe in a different one, pretty much every Sunday, and I just really enjoy getting out to get to see the people that make the work at Baptist Children's Village and Family Ministries possible. It is you that make this possible, and I'm going to tell you why in just a minute. But I'm also glad to introduce y'all to my wife, Elizabeth. She travels with me every time she can, and I love having her here. You might want to get to know her after the service, and then you'll know that which one of us is the better part of this deal and which one outkicked their coverage. We do like to get around to the churches and meet you, but we also want you to get to know us. I want you to get to know your ministry. Anytime you hear me talk about Baptist Children's Village and Family Ministries, you're going to hear me talk about your ministry, and we'll talk about why in just a minute. But I want you to get to know me. Here's some few things about me. You've heard some things. I am your 11th executive director at your Baptist Children's Village. You have been serving children and families for now 129 years, and I'm number 11. Let you know a little something else. Before I came here, I practiced law. I had my own law firm. So we'll go ahead and get confessions out of the way on the front end. I am a recovering attorney. So we'll get that out. You do know that I grew up at your Baptist Children's Village. I am an alumnus of your Baptist Children's Village. What you may not know is I actually hold the record for living at your Baptist Children's Village longer than any child in its history. I lived there for 18 years. I came when I was 5 years old, and I left 18 years later when I graduated from Mississippi College. There were 5 Milner children that went through your Baptist Children's Village, 5 of us. I have one brother that's 11 months older than me. He was born on November the 30th. I was born the following November the 9th. It drives him crazy that I hold the record over him by 1 year. He just can't live with that. So I have promised him, and he's bigger than me, and I said, look, I'll make sure everybody knows why. He wants you to know why I hold the record over him by 1 year. You see, if I came when I was 5 and I left 18 years later when I graduated from Mississippi College, what you find out is there's too many years in there. That math only works if you flunk the 3rd grade and the 7th grade. My brother wants you to know that I flunked the 3rd and the 7th grade. I want you to know that I flunked the 3rd and the 7th grade. Why do I want you to know that? Because we're talking about failure and brokenness and absolute need. And you may be experiencing that today in your life. You may be associated with somebody who's dealing with that. And I want to make sure we are all reminded. We serve a God that has a habit of taking failure and brokenness and giving it meaning, making it beautiful because it was broken. This is what we try to do at your Baptist Children's Village and Family Ministries. And this is why I like to come to you, to thank you and let you know Philippians 1, 3, and 5. I think of y'all this all the time. I thank my God in all my remembrances of you, always in every prayer of mine for you all, making my prayer with joy because of your partnership in the gospel from the first day until now. A lot of people come and they'll say, hey, see, we really appreciate, we like what you're doing out there at Baptist Children's Village and Family Ministries. And I always say this, and it's on this verse. I don't get anything done without you. And we'll talk about why in just a minute. This is your ministry. This is the ministry God called you to. I just work here. Thank you for all that you do. Have you ever noticed this? Have you ever noticed absolute need is never attractive? There's nothing attractive about absolute need. In Mark chapter 5, there's the story of how Jesus healed the demoniac and how the demoniac was actually living and in graveyards and in tombs, and he was uncontrollable. There's nothing attractive about this. There's nothing about this situation and that demoniac that would make anybody want to run, get involved in that person's life. Absolute need is not attractive. Then there's the leper and those that Jesus healed. We don't see a lot of leprosy. but it's horrible. It's disfiguring. It's all of this. And Jesus touched him. He had absolute need. Jesus tells the story of someone beaten, laying in a ditch, and how so many people walked on the other side of the road because absolute need is expensive. It's engaging. It causes us to get into the ditch too. Absolute need is not attractive. And I like to remind us, and I like to remind myself, that there was a time when God looked down on a lost planet. All the people. We were nothing but absolute need. We were not attractive. We didn't have a Savior. We were lost. We were living in our sin. We were not attractive to God. It wasn't cuteness that caused him to send his son. It was his call to love that made him do that. Jesus come down to earth, and he walked with it. And in Matthew 9:36, when he saw the crowds, he had compassion for them because they were harassed and helpless like sheep without a shepherd. That's how Jesus saw us. In our rebellion, in all of our traumas that we're living out, in everything that's going wrong, he sees sheep harassed, helpless, chased by wolves, someone without a shepherd. I want you to know at your Baptist Children's Village and family ministries, this is what you do. This is your game plan. You go search out and you engage absolute need, and it's not attractive. There's nobody that comes to your Children's Village and family ministry, and it's not like young people or even families sit there and they're just so grateful. Oh, thank you so much. No, they're hurt. They're harassed. They're traumatized. This is what you want to engage, following the example of Christ in what he did. Sometimes experiencing this absolute need, and you may be here this morning and you may be like me when I was young. Sometimes when all you see is the absolute need, maybe you've got somebody in your family, a friend, maybe you're going through it, it can cause us to question and to honestly ask, where's God? Where's God? If he's all loving and if he's all powerful, where's God in the face of this absolute need? Growing up at the village, we had house parents, and I want you to know that our biggest need is house parents. I've heard about your prayer ministry. I want your prayer ministry to pray for my workers to come because the fields are white unto harvest, but the laborers truly are few. We had house parents, and the house parents would read us the Bible, and we would go to church, and they had a favorite verse, and it was Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for welfare and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope. Church, I want you to know, when I was young and I heard this, I appreciated the thought, but I didn't believe it. You see, I dealt with that in my life. Wait a minute. Yeah, if God was all of that and he had a plan for me and yada, da, da, da. Number one, I'm not real sure he knows what he's doing, or I wouldn't be in this children's home. I don't think he knows about me, or I wouldn't be here. If he's all loving and all powerful, these problems wouldn't happen. There wouldn't be any absolute need. That wouldn't be what's going on in my life. So y'all can keep that. I've got to go take care of me. That was my thoughts. That's what I dealt with. You see, where I came from, there was no God. My father was a habitual criminal. He would get put in prison in one state, and then when he would come out, he would simply move his family across the country. That's why my oldest brother, Bruce, was born in Pensacola, Florida. My baby brother, James, was born in Sacramento, California. There were 5 Milner children. My oldest brother, Bruce, my sister, Kim, my brother, Mike, me, and my youngest brother, we called him Boo Boo. His name was James, but we called him Boo Boo. When Boo Boo was 5 days old, my father took us to a park in Sacramento. I obviously don't remember these events. My mother tells me, and my older brothers and sisters remember them. But he set us on a park bench in Sacramento, California. He didn't tell my alcoholic mother. My mother was a severe alcoholic. He didn't tell her that he had checked her out of the hotel. He didn't tell her that she didn't have a car and she didn't have any money. He simply said, sit here on this park bench. I'm going to go get us some lunch. And he never came back. My mother went to churches and through charity and begging. She got enough money to get train fare to get her and her 5 children. Remember, my baby brother was 5 days old. Got us train fare to get us back to Port Gibson, Mississippi, down in Claiborne County, which is where her family was from. We went down there and we were able to get back, and we lived there for a little while. And I want you to know, church, that I had my mother until I was a sophomore at Mississippi College, when alcoholism finally took her life. But there was a day in Port Gibson, Mississippi, when her life was too big for her. The shame of where she was and all of the pressures from everything that was coming in, and these 5 children all by herself. She screamed out for help one more time by pulling a trigger. I do remember these events. I remember going onto the back porch, helping my older brother and sister pull her back into the house, my oldest brother running 2 miles to the nearest house that had a telephone to call for help. This is where I came from. And if God is all powerful and all of that, it caused me to question his existence and wonder whether he really existed at all. But you know something? God's always had a plan. And in his word, what became one of my favorite verses is Psalm 68:5. Father of the fatherless and protector of widows is God in his holy habitation. Father of the fatherless, God. At the village, we had sports teams. We had our own basketball team. We had our own softball team, our own soccer team. We had volleyball teams. We did all of this, and we would travel around. We played in church leagues, and we were pretty good. We were so good that we had our own cheer, and this is the way our cheer went. We are the orphans, the mighty, mighty orphans. Everywhere we go, people want to know who we are. So we tell them, we are the orphans, the mighty, mighty orphans. And the house parents and the bus driver and everybody who can hear this in the parking lot, they reacted to that the same way you're reacting to that, which is, oh, please stop doing that. Which made us do what? We did it louder. We're hanging out windows screaming, we are the orphans. I got to thinking about it, though. And I thought, I'm not an orphan. I've got a mother. She's an alcoholic, but I have a mother. I have a father. We don't know where he is, but I've got a dad. I'm not an orphan. Until you look in the Bible and see how the Bible uses that word. In the Old Testament, in Hebrew, that word is yathom. It does not mean both parents have passed away. In the New Testament, that word is orphanos. It's where we get our word orphan from. Do you know in the New Testament, it does not mean both parents have passed away. What that word means in the Old Testament and the New Testament is one without a guide, one without a protector, one without a comforter, one without somebody to stand for them, one without somebody to teach them, to pass on an identity to them. Biblically, that's an orphan. That's what we were. That's what we are. And God reaching out to these orphans with that understanding, sitting on that kitchen floor. My story didn't end on that kitchen floor. More importantly, my story didn't begin on that kitchen floor. You see, my story began 72 years before I was even born, because that's when God came to the Baptists in the state of Mississippi in 1894 and said, I want you to go out and I want you to take care of these orphans. I want you to build a home. I want you to do for them so they can hear about the blood that washed me white. They can understand that there is a chasm between me and them, but I built the bridge. That's what the home was for. So in 1894, there was a pastor from First Baptist Church, Senatobia, Mississippi, Mr. L.S. Foster, and he championed the cause, and he wrote this in the Baptist Record. If this thought is of God, he will put it into the heart of some person to send a contribution for this cause. In December of that year, a lady from Senatobia, Mississippi, Miss Lou H. Moore, she wrote back with this: with my prayers, I enclose this $1 for the institution. If it finds company enough to affect a movement, you will hear from me again. Church, you received your first child at it was called then the Baptist Orphanage, on May the 12th of 1897. You have been serving children and families since May the 12th of 1897, uninterrupted. That means through the Depression, through all of the wars, through everything that has gone on, through COVID, through everything, uninterrupted, you have served, you have answered the call of God to go reach out to absolute need and engage yourself in absolute need. That's why I call this is your ministry. This is the ministry God gave y'all. I'm just the effort. This is what y'all did. And I want you to know about your ministry. I told you we would talk about your game plan, the seeking out absolute need. Here's your game plan. You know, when I practiced law, I represented a lot of businesses. So they would come in and they'd have their business plan on how they're going to make this business happen or how they're going to go do this. And I would go through their business plan with them and I would give advice. Here's your business plan. You go look for absolute need. You look for kitchen floors. You look for social worker offices. You look for park benches. And then you step into that and you say, you know what? Because of the love of Christ, I'm going to step here and I'm going to help you. And I'm going to show you the love of Christ. I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to feed you. I'm going to clothe you. I'm going to educate you. I'm going to do everything I can to meet your need so that you will see the bridge that God built to get you to me. And then you look at them and say, because of God's people and their obedience and their love for you through Christ, this will not cost you one penny. That's your business plan. I told Elizabeth after I took the job, and I'm looking at all of this, and I'm scratching my head, because sure, I grew up there, but I didn't know how the place ran. And I looked at this business model, and I walked to her, and I said, sweetheart, this isn't going to work. Do you realize we're giving away services, and we're doing all of this for all these people, but we're not charging them a dime? This won't work. She said, well, you better pray about it. I said, I'm going to. God knows I'm a lawyer. I'm sure he wants to hear from me. So I did. Here's what God told me. He said, seeing I've been doing this for 100 years without you, why don't you just do what I tell you to do? And I said, yes, Lord, which is the only answer you can have. So here's what happens because you listen to God. I want you to know you have 6 ministries at your Baptist Children's Village and Family Ministry. 6. 3 of them are residential care. 3 of them are non-residential care. I'll tell you about your residential care first. The one that pretty much everybody knows about is the program that I grew up in, which is your residential child caring program. You have 7 campuses across the state of Mississippi where you bring children into those homes who have to be separated from their families for whatever reason. You bring them in, you provide social services to them, you provide health care, education, a warm bed, clothes, engage them in school life and all of that. That's your residential program. In fact, this church is very important to us right now because you have helped build, and I understand that the Vacation Bible School effort has gone to this. Our newest boys' cottage in the entire ministry is being built right now in Brookhaven, Mississippi. It's almost finished. And here's something special about that. You will have the first cottage or home built specified to serve kids who have experienced trauma. You have your first trauma-informed care cottage in the state of Mississippi. What does that mean? That means that your refrigerator there has glass doors, so the kids who come from maybe a hunger background, they don't have to think they have to steal it. They can see the food inside the refrigerator. The stove, you can pick a pot of boiling water up, move it, and place your hand on the eye of that stove, and it will not burn you, and it will not burn a child. The colors and everything there is to help rebuild the functionality of their brain so they can deal with logically the thoughts in life. That's what you do. Our biggest asset there are your house parents. The house parents are the heroes of the entire ministry. These are people called out. They're missionaries. They're called out by God to come and work in homes for kids that they don't know. Live in a part of the state they don't know. And sometimes they hear a language that they didn't hear in their home. They see reactions, but they're called out. Your house parents are commissioned home missionaries by their home church and by the Mississippi Baptist Convention because they are the people that make it happen. Here's what your house parents do. House parent one night, it's one of my favorite stories about him. She's taking her kids to the grocery store, just like you did with your kids. And she's grabbing hair and she's grabbing collars and all this stuff to make sure nobody gets run over. And she's walking up to the grocery store and she looks over and she sees a car. And there's a lady sitting in that car with children sitting on the hood. The lady's sitting in the car crying. Your house parent knows this scene. She knows what she's looking at. She doesn't turn around with all the kids and just ignore the situation. She walked over to the woman's car, lined the kids up against the car, looked down on the woman's window, and knocked on the window. The lady rolled the window down with tears in her eyes, and your house parent said to her, "Ma'am, can I help you?" And that lady looked at her and said, "No, you can't help me. My husband's just left me. I don't have any money. All I've got is this car, and now I'm out of gas. You can't help me." This story sounds familiar. Your house parent looked back at her and said, "Oh, yes, ma'am. I can help you. I work at the Baptist Children's Village. I can help you." Within 2 hours, we had her on a campus with her kids. She was able to see where they were going to stay. We had those kids for 18 months while Mom got up, got on her feet, got standing alone, and we were able to put them back together. And we told them about Christ. That's what you do. That's what your house parents do. You have your first residential family program. Whereas now, that situation, we could have taken Mom and her kids and kept them together, because you have a home in Waynesboro, Mississippi now, where we bring Mom and her kids into that home and they live there, and we train them up on financial responsibility. We train them up on how to get a job and keep a job. We want to do everything we can to keep the family together, because we understand that God ordained the family on this planet before He ordained anything else. It was the family. And we want to keep families together. And so that's what your residential family program does. And they stay there until we can get them out and on their own, and they can stand to be what God wants them to be. You have an independent living program. Let me tell you what that is. Who are the smartest people on the planet? By far, no question. 18-year-olds, right? 18-year-olds know everything. Here's the problem. 18-year-olds get out in the real world. It's not what they thought. They aren't as smart as they thought. And now there's nowhere for them to go. And too many times they end up in Parchment. So you have an independent living program where now we have a place for those that are 18. They can come. And we do like the single moms. We educate them up. We adult them up. We do all of those things. You had 3 kids graduate from college in your residential independent living program this year. 3. Able to go on now and actually have a life. Your non-residential ministries. Your first one is your in-home family support program. In all 82 counties in this state, you have social case managers who will go into homes, and like the state of Mississippi is getting interested in busting up a family, they'll go into the home and they'll diagnose what's the problem, how do we keep this family together. They teach cooking, they teach cleaning, they teach how to get a kid to school, they teach all of these things that seem weird to me and you that has to be taught. But they never learned. And you do that to keep the kids out of the system and to keep the families together. You have, in the state of Mississippi, there are 15 operating youth detention facilities throughout the state. We haven't forgot the kids in jail either. Some of these kids will never leave the detention system. When they turn 18, they will come get them and they'll take them to an adult facility because of the crimes that they committed. We don't deal with that. What we do deal with is we work with the churches in those areas. You are in 5 of those 15, and we're building even this year, where we go in and we share Christ, and we get the church involved, and volunteers come in and we train and we write the curriculum to where kids can learn about Christ, become disciples. You have young men right now at adult facilities who accepted Christ in the youth detention facility, and they're now running the Bible studies in the adult facility. That's what you do. That's what God accomplishes. And then you have your resource and referral program. I have pastors call me, this is going on in my church, what do I do? Sometimes we have people come to us and we can't help them. It's above our pay grade. But we never tell anybody, well, God bless you, and hang up the phone. Because of our network throughout the entire country and throughout the state of Mississippi, we know who can help them. We stay with them until we get them to who can help them. That's what you do. How is it paid for? 100% of the money that comes to the Baptist Children's Village, 100%, comes from you, churches like this one, businesses, and the Mississippi Baptist Convention. Hear me clear on this because there's some misinformation out there. You don't take 1 penny from the state or the federal government in exchange for the services that you provide. Not 1 dime. People ask me all the time. I've been in Washington a lot. I go to Washington a lot. I work with representatives and senators up there. I'm at the state capitol a lot. I do work with the Department of Child Protection Services. We are licensed by the Department of Child Protection Services. That is voluntary on our part. I don't have to be licensed by the Department of Child Protective Services to do what I do, and I'm asked all the time, see, why are you licensed? You don't have to be. Isn't it a pain? Yes, it is. There's one reason. There's 2 reasons we're licensed by the state of Mississippi. Number 1, God told us to take care of the children, not the state. Number 2, the state of Mississippi takes children into their care that need to hear the gospel message of Jesus Christ, and I don't have any confidence in the state or anybody else to do it. That's why we're licensed. That is the only reason we're licensed. Well, what about the money? Don't they pay money if you take children? Yes, they do. And there are agencies that need that money, that receive that money, and that's fine. But we don't, because I'm never going to subordinate the gospel message of Jesus Christ to any state dollar or any state entity. That's why I don't take their money. That's why I'm able to make bold stands. I'm able to argue for how children need to be cared for, and the cause of Christ, and the fact that you cannot change that life without Christ changing it. Everything else is just feeding and delaying the inevitable. I'm able to make bold stands because of you, because I stand on your shoulders. That's what you mean to so many that you will never meet this side of heaven. I want to say thank you to my thousands of brothers and sisters. There's over 12,000 who've come through the doors at your Baptist Children's Village and Family Ministries. We have a reunion every even-numbered year, the Saturday after the 4th of July. So we just had a reunion, and we go and meet. A lot of people come back and hug and all of that kind of stuff. But that's what they say. Now that I'm an adult, how did this happen? How did this work? One of my best friends in all the world, we grew up together at the village. His name's David. David came to the village when he was young too, and he stayed there for 3 years. From the time he was 5 to the time he was 8, we had a saying at the children's village, home for good, home for good. This summer I'm going to go home for good. And what that meant to us village kids, and that's what we called each other, and it's still a term of endearment. I call my children village kids. It's just a big joke to us. What that meant to a village kid was my parents are reconciling, and I'm going to get to go live with them like all the other little boys and girls. Well, David went home for good when he was 8 years old. He was there 5 years when the state of Mississippi had to go into his home and take him out for his own safety. His mother had broken his arm. He's sitting in that social worker's office, and she's going, well, who are your family? I don't have any family. I don't have anybody. I don't have anybody. I don't have anybody. He said, I finally had to tell her, lady, you need to listen. I don't have anybody. But I do remember living at the children's village one time. So the lady knew the children's village, picked the phone up. David said, I could hear Paul Nunnery. He was the executive director back then. He was a recovering attorney also out of the Delta, but he was a big and impressive man, and he had a booming voice. David said, I could hear Paul on the other end of that line. That lady said, I got a boy here named David. He said he used to live with y'all. I need to know, do you want him? David said, I heard Paul on the other end of that line say, well, are you going to bring him to me, or do I need to come and get him? David came back to the village. He had just been passed through school because he had been in the street, got into things he didn't need to get into, and he'd just been passed through. The village started deciding, hey, we're going to have to do something different for David. He'll never graduate high school. We're going to have to find an alternative way to educate him. So they started looking like they should have. But it was a house parent that shared the good news of Jesus Christ with David when he was in 8th grade. David accepted Jesus. David's life started changing. He started passing. They quit talking about alternate education. You had a home in New Albany, Mississippi. 2 days before my junior year of high school, I moved to that home in New Albany. I called David one day and said, hey, man, you got to come up here and live. Come live. So he did. When he got there, he's a couple years behind me. We were downtown New Albany, and we're walking around, and there were some kids his age, and I said, hey, come meet these kids, David, and we all hung out and had a good time. On the way home from downtown, we're walking home, and David looked at me and he said, see, That's the prettiest girl I ever met in my life. I said, David, that girl's daddy owns that bank right there. You need to let that girl alone. He said, see, I'm going to marry that girl. And I was like, oh, gee, come on, David. These people are nice to us up here. You're going to get us in trouble. You're going to get us sit back. Just leave her alone. I'm going to marry her, sing. Her name is Martha. Three years later, the kid that wasn't going to graduate from high school, he did graduate from high school. He graduated Mr. W.P. Daniel High School in New Albany, Mississippi. That young lady graduated Mrs. W.P. Daniel High School. They have been married 34 years. They had 3 children. 2 of them in banking. Their daughter became a social worker. She got her master's degree social working. And her daughter is your campus director on your Water Valley campus right now. David, who was never going to graduate, he graduated from high school, he graduated from college, and he serves as the president of the Board of Education for the city of New Albany right now. That's what you do. That's what happens. And that's why I say it takes the love of Christ in our heart to change somebody. So on behalf of David and my over 12,000 brothers and sisters who have gone through your doors at your Baptist Children's Village and Family Ministries, on behalf of all of them, please receive from me, thank you, and God bless you. And thank you that me and all of my brothers and sisters had the opportunity to hear Christ. And we truly say now, home for good, home for good. One day, we're all going to go home for good. God bless y'all. Thank y'all very much.